Chapter 2. Margaret was waiting for me in the lobby of our apartment building when I got off the bus after school. I showed her my picture. "Ugh," she cried, "I look like a dandelion." That's how good of an artist I am. Everybody always knows what it is. Dandelions are beautiful. I pulled her into the elevator, which has mirrors on all sides so she could see. And Margaret shook her head. For flowers, maybe, not for people's heads. Besides, dandelions are yellow, not brown. I look like a dead dandelion. Then she brightened up a little. Well, maybe that would help, if my hair were yellow. Then she took a long, I-wish look at my hair in the mirror. Or red. And for the first time that day, I saw Margaret smile. "I could do that for you, Margaret," I told her. "Oh, sure. I could make your hair red just like mine." "How?" Margaret asked. I'd been so happy to see Margaret smile that I'd forgotten to figure out that part, but then a great idea popped into my head. I am lucky that way. Great ideas are always popping into my head without me having to think them up. My mother has some special markers for her work. They color over anything and they stay there. Spinach got hold of one and drew all over the walls, and my parents couldn't get it off. They had to paint the room over. That's how permanent those markers are. Okay, fine. My brother's name is not really Spinach, but I got stuck with a name that is also a fruit, and it's not fair that he didn't. The only thing worse than a fruit name is a vegetable name, so that's what I think he should have. I have collected a lot of names for him. Spinach did that? Margaret asked. The easy one? I squint-eyed her. The easy one? That's what my mother calls him. She says it's a good thing your parents got an easy one after you. Same thing in my family, but I'm the easy one. She says when there are two kids in a family, there's always an easy one and a hard one. I guess it's a rule. Oh, yeah, I said. I knew that. But I didn't. So, how about those markers, Margaret reminded me. Okay, I said. If the easy one could use them, I guess the hard one could too. Let's go. And then we pressed B for basement and we rode down to my apartment. I ran into the kitchen and climbed up onto the counter and grabbed the box of markers from where my mom had hidden them and jumped down. Before I left, I yelled at my mother in the living room. "Hi, Mom! Everything went great at school. I was really paying attention, and now I'm going to play with Margaret because everything's fine with Margaret. No problems. Bye!" Just so she wouldn't worry. And then I ran back out to Margaret in the elevator. She looked through the box and pulled out a marker named Flaming Sunset. Then she took off the cap and held the marker up against my hair. "Perfect," she said. "Let's go up to my apartment." Forgotten about that part, too. "Is your mother still mad?" I asked. "Yep, but she took 3 aspirin and went back to work. Only my brother is home." So I said okay, and we rode the elevator up to Margaret's apartment, even though I don't like Margaret's room. One reason I don't like to go there is mascara. Mascara always hides under Margaret's bed and hisses because he hates everyone except Margaret. But sometimes I can see his tail or one paw, and then I feel too sad because it reminds me of my old cat, Polka Dotty, who died. Last year, Polka had 3 kittens in my bureau drawer, which luckily I always leave open. My parents let me name them. Since I have discovered that the most exquisite words in the world are on labels you will find in the bathroom, I carried the kittens into the bathroom and looked around until I found them beautiful names. Fluoride and Laxative went to live with people who answered the "free kittens hurry" ad my dad put in the paper, which was unfair to Polka because they were strangers. Then Margaret's mother said, "All right, Margaret, you can have a kitten as long as you take care of it yourself." And that was good, because at least Mascara would be living with someone Polka knew. Except then Polka Dotty died, so now Margaret has a cat that's just fine and I don't. But the main reason I don't like to go to Margaret's room is that it makes me feel itchy. I feel itchy in Margaret's room because it looks like a magazine picture. Everything matches and everything is always exactly where it's supposed to be, in straight lines. Plus, nothing in her room is broken and it's all clean. Not a speck of dirt is allowed into her room. Actually, Margaret's looks like a magazine picture too. Her hair is always combed. Well, it used to be. And her clothes always match, and I think she probably sleeps in her bathtub because I have never seen a single smudge of dirt on her. But I like her anyway, but it's not always easy. "Remember the rules," Margaret said at her bedroom door. While Margaret was looking under the bed for mascara, I accidentally touched her lamp, which is a china poodle with an umbrella that Margaret calls a parasol because she is a show-off. Margaret turned around fast, but my hands jumped into my pockets even faster. "All right," I said, "let's get going with the coloring." This is called changing the subject. It is very hard to color hair with a marker, let me tell you. But I did it. I colored all of Margaret's hair chunks flaming sunset, and then another really great idea popped into my head. And I drew flaming sunset curls all over her forehead and the back of her neck, so her hair would look more like mine. And it looked beautiful, like a giant tattoo of tangled up worms. When I am a grown-up, I will have hundreds of tattoos. Margaret looked in the mirror, then she looked at my hair, then she looked in the mirror again and said, "Okay, good." And then she told me she was getting bracelets put on her teeth. "You mean braces?" I tell her. "No," she said, "bracelets. They're a special kind of braces. They're jewelry." "Oh," I said, "I knew that." But I didn't. Okay, fine. Later that night, when I was just at the hard part of falling asleep, which is lying in the dark trying not to think about pointy things, I heard the phone ring. My dad said, "Hi, Susan," which is Margaret's mother's name, and then he didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said, "Now, Susan, let's just look at this calmly." And then he didn't say anything for another long time, and then he said, "I'm sorry," 7 times, which is 2 more times than he said it after he told my mother he thought her overalls were getting a little snug. Next, I heard him go into my brother's room, where my mom was putting broccoli to bed, to say goodnight to him. Then I heard my parents whispering together as they walked down the hall to my room, and I thought this would be an ideal time to practice pretending to be asleep. I could feel them standing in my doorway, probably thinking, "This hard one is a lot more trouble than the easy one." Then my dad said, "I really think Clementine was just trying to help her." Margaret wanted hair like Clementine's. You know she's always been a little jealous. That was the craziest thing I'd ever heard, because Margaret is perfect. But I couldn't tell them this, because an important part of pretending to be asleep is not talking.